Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that when you learn from the universities or in colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. Real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. The academy helps every individual who has different abilities, such as probably some of them are like engineers, most of them. There are people who are creative persons, there are people who have management skills. So there are different qualities of people having in life which can be trained into particular path so that everybody has some space in this particular field itself. So how can you become a professional is what the training from Archies Academy we are focused on.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
This summer, the ultimate hackathon begins. innovate, develop, pitch, and win, all from the comfort of your home. Join Endurance, a 2-day global virtual hackathon. Compete with some amazing and brilliant developers from around the world. Get access to industry leaders across the globe and learn from the best. Explore the various verticals within the software industry through workshops. Connect and network with global companies and universities. Challenge yourself to difficult problems to win great prizes worth more than $1,200 of training. Register today. Endurance. Code a way into your technologist's future.
Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that when you learn from the universities or in colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. Real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. The Academy helps every individual who has different abilities, such as probably some of them are like engineers, most of them. There are people who are creative persons, there are people who have management skills. So there are different qualities of people having in life which can be trained into particular path so that everybody has some space in this particular field itself. So how can you become a professional is what the training from Archies Academy we are focused on.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that like when you learn from the universities or in colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. Real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. The Academy helps every individual who has different abilities, such as probably some of them are like engineers, most of them. There are people who are creative persons, there are people who have management skills. So there are different qualities of people having in life which can be trained into particular path so that everybody have some space in this particular field itself. So how can you become a professional is what the training from Archies Academy we are focused on.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that when you learn from the universities or in colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. Real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. The Academy helps every individual who has different abilities, such as probably some of them are like engineers, most of them. There are people who are creative persons, there are people who have management skills. So there are different qualities of people having in life which can be trained into particular path so that everybody has some space in this particular field itself. So how can you become a professional is what the training from Archies Academy we are focused on.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that when you learn from the universities or in colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. Real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. The Academy helps every individual who has different abilities, such as probably some of them are like engineers, most of them. There are people who are creative persons, there are people who have management skills. So there are different qualities of people having in life which can be trained into particular path so that everybody has some space in this particular field itself. So how can you become a professional is what the training from Archies Academy.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
This summer, the ultimate hackathon begins. Innovate, develop, pitch, and win, all from the comfort of your home. Join Endurance, a 2-day global virtual hackathon. Compete with some amazing and brilliant developers from around the world. Get access to industry leaders across the globe and learn from the best. Explore the various verticals within the software industry through workshops. Connect and network with global companies and universities. Challenge yourself to difficult problems to win great prizes worth more than $1,200 of training. Register today. Endurance. Code away into your technologist's future.
Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that when you learn from the universities or in colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. Real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. Hello, everybody. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening from all the people around the world. Welcome back to Endurance again. We have started early morning and things are going fine. And I would like to welcome Shiyas, who's joining from Bloomington, from Illinois. Welcome on board, Shiyas.
Thank you for having me, Tofi.
Yeah. So we have started around 6 hours ago, and then we have people across the world, from people from Australia, India, Turkey, countries from Africa, US, all have been now in our Discord channel, and they have been actively doing the coding. From now for the next couple of hours until next 3 hours, we have this talk from experts in the industry like yourself, and we have another engineer joining from Google, and we have another project manager from Wolfram will be joining after that. So with that being said, that I just want to welcome you all again back to Endurance, and I would like to set the stage for Shiyas, and he would like to discuss about how to become an architect, etc., and share his thoughts towards that. And the stage is yours, Shiyas.
Oh, thank you, Tofi. I mean, I'll to make this process structured, right? I mean, I have a presentation to share as well, so I'll go through that first. So, I mean, I'll try to do my introduction as part of that as well. So, before that, I mean, can you hear me and see me okay, or?
Yeah, it's all good. You're okay. Good to go.
Perfect. Cool. So, I mean, if ready, I mean, I'll share my screen and then get started. Is that fine?
Please go ahead. It's all good. You can just share your screen and then do accordingly.
Okay, cool. So give me a second. Just let me know when you can see my screen, okay?
Sure. Yep, I think we are good. We're good to go.
Cool. Okay, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone, based on wherever you are. Like Tofi said, I mean, I'm gonna talk about becoming an architect. just want to share my experience and the path, how what I have gone through to get into this position. Sometimes it might be helpful for others to get into this, right? So I'm always be ready to be helpful and share my knowledge and experience to others to become successful. So just a little bit about myself. So my name is Shiyas Puthiyapurayil. I'm a director of Salesforce architecture in Capgemini. It's one of the leading consulting company in the world. My primary focus is on Salesforce area. I mean, there I do manage the Salesforce technical architecture and manage delivery folks on that area. Like as mentioned, I mean, you can see I worked with multiple consulting companies, the leading consulting companies in the world, such as IBM, Accenture, Capgemini, UST Global, and all. I have 14 certifications in Salesforce and a couple of additional certifications as well. I will talk about certifications in the later slide. So yeah, I mean, who is an architect, right? I mean, it's a great question to be asked because there are various definitions. For this purpose, I mean, I took the standard definition from Wikipedia, which is nothing but a software architect is a software development expert who makes high-level design choices and tries to enforce technical standards, including software coding standards, tools, and platform. So in another way, that person, that role, he or she would be helping or defining the how that technical platform should be, what should be the standard to be followed, how the design should be. I mean, we'll go deeper as we progress on the slides. You might have heard architect word in many places, right? I mean, in many different projects, many different environments, right? There are various types of architects. I mean, I'll start with the three main types of, or three major types of architect, which is enterprise architect, solution architect, and technical architect. I mean, there is always a confusion when you go to some places. I mean, what is this enterprise architect versus solution architect versus technical architect? Just to give you a high level picture, I mean, I'm putting something on the slide, which give you a kind of high level picture on this, right? So enterprise architects are like very, very high level, and their focus is their major focus would be on towards the strategy than the technology. So they probably wanted to know, I mean, what are the systems involved in the enterprise structure, and it's more about what's organization's mission and vision than one technology specific. I mean, their focus areas would be like business application, data and information, technology, security, innovation. It might be like more broader. I mean, on the slide you can see they need to have like breadth than the depth. They don't have to be a special SME for one technology, but they should be able to talk about very high level about most of all the technologies or most of all the applications under one organization. But when it comes to a solution architect, it's mainly like point focused, right? I mean, it's product or domain focused. So they should be the SME. They should be the subject matter expert for a domain. I mean, for example, there might be solution architect for financial services. There might be solution architect for healthcare. So they are pretty firm on the business and domain knowledge. They don't have to be the technology expert, but they definitely should be having a little bit of a technology architect, technical architect, and a little bit of an enterprise architect. So they should be able to communicate with technical and enterprise architects. And when it comes to a technical architect, that's where the detailed technology level focus would be there. So normally they'll focus on few applications or few technology. I mean, there always been like a primary technology for a technical architect. Especially nowadays, you have more cloud technologies like an AWS or Salesforce, Workday, or even non-cloud technologies. But the technical architects normally will be like AWS architect or Salesforce architect or some other technology architect, so that their primary focus always would be on one technology. I mean, if you go to a bigger organization, there might be multiple technologies. So you might be able to see multiple technical architects who focus on that area. That is just to give you a high level idea about how this architects works. You might be able to see some other additional area domain or area specific architects as well, such as a data architect, integration architect, and some other examples which I already gave, like an AWS architect. And Tofi, please feel free to stop me if you have any questions, or I mean, we can do that at the end of the session as well. I know there is a Q&A session.
For sure, yeah, please.
So why an architect is so important, right? Especially in this era, there are a lot of technologies. I mean, there are a lot of advanced technologies, and the technology is moving so fast. I mean, it's very difficult to chase the technology, right? So, I mean, what are the high responsibilities for architect, and why they are so important in the current days? I mean, I'll just give you an overview about wherever they focus, right? I mean, I just listed out a couple of main areas, but definitely, I mean, an architect have to go through a ton of things more than this. So first of all, the business and technology architecture alignment, right? And every organization have a business and technology side of it, right? I mean, normally the architect will work as a bridge between technology and business. Whenever a transformation happens, it should not be just a technical. I mean, it should be always like a business process plus technical. So, I mean, think about an organization which uses outdated technology. I mean, if you are going there as an architect or a technical person to transform them to a latest technology, such as a cloud or any other latest technology, just don't convert that the same use case, same process to a latest technology, and take it as an opportunity to transform their business and technology together. So architect always been an advisory point of that. I mean, they'll envision how the technology transformation happens and will help the business people as well, how the business and process should be updated. And they'll ensure the IT strategy always aligned with the organization's mission. Like I said, uh, an architect is always work like a I would say an advisory gatekeeper, right? I mean, to make sure that the individual smaller teams always follow the business and business vision or organization's mission or vision, and always think about the bigger picture, right? I mean, it's not just one technology or one application, right? I mean, your view always should be on an enterprise level, and create a plan for future state versus current state versus future state. I mean, define how the current state versus future state would be, right? I mean, at least envision or put a vision for how the future would be. I mean, that could get changed on down the line, but at least create a plan for that, right? And that comes to the next point: define a roadmap or master plan. So when you start a bigger project like a banking implementation or a healthcare client implementation, I mean, you cannot right away jump in and create the application, right away jump in and create the development. You have to create a roadmap. You have to create a master plan, which application should develop first, or I mean, or go in parallel. I mean, how the data flow would be. So, architect will take a key responsibility on that, so that other stakeholders such as business or the financial sector on the company would be able to plan it properly, the roadmap, the timeline, and the budgeting as well, and define the governance model and best practices. I mean, whoever worked on this, any of the projects, they know. I mean, always you will be working on a project based on what the use case you get for today, right? I mean, most of the time we will work to solve a problem for today. Like, I have a use case today. I mean, I need to fix that, or I need to develop that, right? But you might not be able to follow a best practice, or you might not be able to have a governance model followed, right? And if you don't have a defined model, so the architects always try to define what should be the best practices, what should be the governance model you have to go through in order to release something to production. Smaller organization, the biggest problem what they face, they'll develop something and just push into production. So if there is no governance model, the problem would be after some point when the organization grows, you might be in a situation where there are a ton of technical debts which you cannot solve. So you don't have a go back scenario. So you will end up on recreating everything from scratch, and that cost a lot in terms of time and money. So architects play a key role on that too, and their involvement is from very beginning to end. I mean, it's not just like a shorter period of the project, right? I mean, for any organization who implement a bigger applications or projects, they'll be there from the beginning to end to make sure that how it should start and how it is ending, or even further, because the technology is always evolving. So a need of an architect is kind of consistent in any organization. And you can see the picture which I put on the right side, right? It's like the map the path between here and there. I mean, this is your current situation, and where you should be. But if you look at the different teams, or I mean individual developers, they might get lost because they don't know how to get there. So architects are the one who design the way to get there by understanding where we are at the moment, and what issues or what we need to solve to get there, or how we need to get there, and learn and educate current trends. That's something which I have seen with most of the project teams, right? Because the developers or the project team always been busy. I mean, especially on the Agile model, on a day-to-day basis, they are filled with the work to be completed, right? So, I mean, it's very difficult for a developer or any project team member to go on the side and try to get updated on the latest technology and bring those trends here, right? I mean, it's very difficult to make that path in parallel with your day-to-day job. So one of the key responsibility for an architect is to always get up to date in terms of the latest technology, the latest and greatest technology and the current trend, and continuously learn and get up to date with that trend, share the knowledge and educate others on the team, so that we can ensure the latest trends being considered for future solutions. So whenever an architect design a solution, they always think about the latest technologies or latest trends. And that has been really challenging nowadays, because on day-to-day basis, the technology is changing and evolving, and the trends are changing as well. And innovate constantly. On an organization, you will be able to see a lot of in this bigger organization especially, when a lot of systems involved, you need to make sure that you innovate consistently and make improvements, such as like latest technologies or some other latest processes. Or if you look in uh, how the industry is changing, right? Blockchain is coming. It's not just a technology, it's an innovative process itself, right? How the latest trends can be bring here, and it's all about the mindset as well. Are we ready to do some innovation here, right? And brainstorm ideas and try out new changes by assessing the risk. So that's one of the thing which architects take care as well, because it's not about they just define and everybody should follow. I mean, the best architect always brainstorm the ideas with others and try to create a path for uh, getting the right and better options for solving the problems. These are kind of a very high level responsibilities which an architect take care, and this is one of the reason why an architect is so important for any organization. And just to give a little more broader view on why the eye of, or the vision, the view of an architect is a little different from others in the team. So once you become an architect, your view and perspective changes. For example, I thought of putting these images to give you a little bit of a visual representation of how an architect sees something, right? On the left hand side, you can see a bank. That's how normally anybody who know about a bank thinks about, right? Yeah, bank is an organization or a building where people will go for depositing or withdrawing money. But an architect view is completely different from that. As an architect, when you see a bank or when you start thinking about a bank, architect will think about the systems and process perspective. Who is the customer? What are the channels they use? What are the communication channels from where they can get some request into? What systems involved in this process? How data flows from one system to another, such as various things to keep in mind, because they, even if it is a small thing, before they design a solution, they have to think about all these scenarios and these systems, because to make sure that the solution and or the system is the best one to fit in the enterprise architecture. I'm not trying to over exaggerate with more responsibility and overcomplicate by saying that becoming an architect is a difficult thing, but just want to give you an idea of how broader they have to think, or how broader their thought process will change when they put their architect hat. And how to become an architect, right? That's a long journey, I would say, but at least I thought of giving a little bit overview about, or little bit about little tips how to become an architect, so that it might be helpful for you, right? So first, learn to work in a development team, understand and try technology stack, right? Most of the architects might have started as a developer or one of the key team member in a development team, because without having the basics, it's very difficult to think about how the team is going to develop something. An architect doesn't need to be a programmer, but whoever coming from a programming background will be able to talk on the developer's language easily. So that's just want to state that. Nowadays the technology is changing. Architect will not be coding, but they should be able to talk about how the development team should code. And the technology stack, right? Like I said, it's not about just the minute area where the development team gonna develop something or program something, but it's all about this what behind the scene, or how the technology works itself. And secondly, find a mentor. It's an optional thing. But in my experience, I would say it's very important. I probably became an architect without a mentor, but that process takes a long. If you have a mentor, that can help the process to go much faster. Somebody to give you a guidance. How you can get there. That can save multiple years. They can give you a path. They can assess you or give you the directions, right? I know Toffee also do a great job on mentoring people, but I do see that as a very important step. Getting or finding a mentor for this process will help you to eliminate multiple years and multiple experience which you want. Third, I would say read, research, and learn about the software design patterns and architecture, how the system work. What are the best design patterns to be considered? What are the best practices, and so and so. Study courses and obtain certificates. There are various courses you can see wherever you focus on various technologies, right? So make sure you study the courses. Gaining maximum knowledge about the features and technology, and obtain certificates. The certificates are important as well, because that shows what you covered already, right? Even when you're getting into a project or going to a client side, it's easy to showcase what you already achieved, right? Certificates are, I always prefer to get the certificates with experience than just going through the textbook. But yeah, that's kind of a logo which you get to prove that, okay, you know, or you already achieved this. And then get more design experience and always think about solution. Architects mean solution. Always it's about solutions. So try to get maximum hands-on experience on designing solutions. When you hear a use case or just probably a simple requirement from the client, that time itself start thinking about solution. Any discussion you have, regardless whether it is customer, developer, tester, manager, anyone, right? Always think about solution. What are the various solution options? What are the pros and cons? What are the risks? What challenge you can foresee, right? What should be the best way to find out solution? Always think about solution. And the last but not least, keep evaluating yourself and check your readiness, right? Are you based on the experience, or what based on what you learned so far? Try to evaluate yourself. Try to find out, are you ready to become an architect, right? So that's those are the main steps which I would say you have to think about to become an architect. And again, it's a long journey or long process, but keeping a plan in mind will help us to reach there, right? That's the reason why I was trying to put together a couple of steps here. It might not be exactly like this, or it might vary based on individual to individual, but this is what I noticed based on my experience, and I hope this helps. But just want to share what I learned and experienced from my journey to be an architect. Even I started as a developer 15 years ago, and managing. I taken the architect roles many years ago, and managing architects as well. So that's all about what I want to share. But yeah, Toffee, I'm happy to take any questions or discuss further.
It's really good that, the right from start, you mentioned, because I know you for so many years. So the journey towards an architect and how much it evolved over the period of time, right from you started from India, being a software engineer, towards stepping up the ladder, and each company you go through. So the transition was not like in one day. It took several time. But how was the experience in terms of jumping your first company to your second one? How was that experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I don't have the number in my mind. I think I worked with 4 or 5 companies so far. So yeah, each stages are different, right? Like you said, 15 or 16 years ago, when I started as a developer in a company, that time I'm a beginner, right? My objective is to learn more. right? Not earn more, right? I mean, later that at some point it will get changed, but it's more about learn more, get maximum experience, and try to learn the best technology, right? I mean, I would put it in this way: when you get started, you don't know what you are, right? I mean, you don't know where you are good at. So it's kind of a confused area, right? I mean, you always go with the first opportunity you get. You might not even know whether you are good at programming, you are good at testing. So most of the time, people will end up on continuing wherever they get stuck, right? I mean, wherever they get started. So I would say the initial couple of years, don't get stuck with the money what you earn, but think about uh, where you are good at, right? I mean, think about, are you what you want to be, right? I mean, don't get stuck with something which you don't want to be. I mean, I have seen many developers who really don't like to be on it as a developer, but just because of that's where they get started. I mean, they ended up on continuing there. But yeah, even my personal view was like, when I the initial couple of years, I was trying to find myself, right? I mean, where I'm good at. So yeah, I mean that. So I tried to learn more in that those days, and once I get a basic foundation, I moved to another company to get to utilize my experience in more ways. Right? I mean, yes, now I know the technology. Now, how about the process? What's the best practices? Right, the standards. So I went to a bigger organization to get that knowledge, and definitely, and I ended up on spending 5 to 6 years there because that's a long process as well. Then you become more of a leadership roles, right? I mean, you started managing teams. You started giving guidance to others. You might have already into a better position in terms of technology, like a developer or programmer or lead or like a junior architect level. Then the focus will change it to a design level. Yes, I mean, now there are a couple of teams there to develop. How can I design the solution? How can I
Right.
uh, build the path for them so that they can develop, right? So there, I mean, I would say it's various stages. The next stage would be more about like a consulting or strategy, right? I mean, yes, now there are people to solution or design as well, but how can I help the client to get better business for them? I mean, like that's why I was going in one of my slides. It's not just the technology transformation. Yes, you are a technology person, but end of the day, what are you developing, right? You are developing something for a business process. So always think about what's the end use of it, right? It's not just for the sake of you are developing something, right? I mean, somebody should get benefit out of it. So
Exactly.
I think, yeah, I mean, in kind of a last stage is where you get how this will beneficial to the client. I mean, is that really going to add some values in terms of financial or timeline perspective?
Right. When most of the people now joining they might be always joining in a small group of team, right? Like, it might be a startup, it might be a small company. So they might not be having a fixed process. For example, um, they don't have a clear process outlined whenever they are joining in a small companies. But having working with big companies like IBM and Accenture, what was the biggest difference which you understand, like, okay, there are things need to be done in certain way, and how would that help to build an enterprise software? Because a software can be built some hook or like duct tape and stuff like that, but building a software which can stand over the period of time, and especially, I mean, I'm not really familiar with Salesforce, and you have been with the Salesforce a lot number of years. How does it feel when you're working with big enterprise companies around the world?
Yeah, that's a great question because I mean, first of all, every company have its own way of doing things, right? I mean, the process and policies are completely different from one company to another. But yeah, on a generic perspective, yes, the bigger organization and enterprises have better processes and policies than the smaller companies, right? I mean, that's one of the key difference which I faced as well. I mean, I started as a developer in a 4-member company. I mean, that was a startup where I'm the fourth developer, right? I mean, I would say fourth member of the company. I mean, including the manager, developer, lead. I mean, it's just 4 members, right? That was like too technical focused, but like you mentioned, no process at all, right? I mean, so there is, yeah, I mean, you learn a lot in terms of the basic or foundation, but you might not be able to, you might not follow any process, right? I mean, you don't even know why the process are there, right? The initial stage of your
Right.
career, your thought process might be, or when you work in a small company or medium company, your thought process would be process is like a kind of a pain, right? Its process is a pain
Mhm.
to face. But when you go to a
Mhm.
bigger enterprise, I mean, with a bigger organization, you'll realize that there are some benefits with the process too, right? I mean, and some
Mhm.
companies have too much process oriented. I mean, I don't want to label some company here, but some
Mhm.
companies really have more process than what you would do, right? I mean, that will become a pain too. So it should be a balance between the process and the advantage of the process, right? I mean, always the process should be useful. I mean,
Mhm.
there are definitely a lot of use out of these processes. Following, I mean, the way how I always think about when I form a team, I'll try to define a process within the team. I'll discuss with the team members and think about what you are comfortable with. You cannot go without process for sure, but you can put
Mhm.
process which your team can follow, right? So what they are comfortable with, or what. So it's nothing but a set of rules which you have to follow, or a checklist which you have to go through before you do a step, right? I mean, by defining a process and the similar same time, I mean, by following the process thoroughly, you can definitely see the differences. I mean, I could achieve a lot of projects, I could deliver a lot of projects without any major defect by following a good level of processes, which kind of defined within the team. I mean, each team have a different level of comfortability on those things. So yeah, I mean, I would say the key difference is
Mhm.
the process and policies, that's for a good purpose. I mean, I again, company to company have different vision and different mode of processes, but yeah, I mean, the with the size of the organization, right, the process is the key difference between all these organizations.
Exactly. So, like, the other thing is that being working from an international collaborative companies, for example, you started when you were in India. Now moving to US, and then you were able to work with different cultures and different people from different backgrounds. How did that transform your mindset in terms of working there in a whole different group of people? That's something which may not be experienced when your people have in certain countries, for example, in Turkey or in India. So how does that change yourself?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question as well, because when I started, I was working in one place, which is like a company in India, and it's more about those who I interact where they are in India as well. So that was kind of a different perspective than while I'm at onshore 10 years ago when I came to US, and the initial stage of that, I mean, I was kind of seeing another world, another set of people. Yeah, but nowadays things got changed a lot as well, right? I mean, the technology or any kind of a technical team is beyond the borders, right? I mean, there is different cultures, different country people. I mean, there are a lot more than that, right? I would say there is a different culture for IT, or like an international collaborative teams, right?
Mhm.
Again, I always try to use the word as team, because the team consists of a different set of people, right? It could be from
Right.
different places, different countries, and instead of having one country culture, it's a team culture, right? What you build within the team and what you follow within the team.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that make a big difference in terms of mindset. Instead of you versus they versus us, right? I mean, that kind of completely changed my view as well. I mean, when I was in India, my perspective was like, okay, I'm at offshore. I mean, I don't know what onshore things. But when I came here, I mean, I that helped me because I know now what onshore thinks, and I might be able to say what offshore might have thought as well, right? So yeah, I mean, it always beneficial to work with people from different places. That gives you a different culture, different thought process than where you were before. I do see some
Right.
questions as well.
Yeah, right. I'll read it out. Like, there's a question from Shafiq. Do we have to master in all technologies to become an architect? or an idea about a technology is enough to an architect. I have one point over there. You cannot really master all the technologies in the world. That's simply not possible. And even if that's for an architect or any kind of founder, you cannot really master all the technologies in the world. But that being said, Shiyas, what's your view on that?
Sure. A great question, Shafiq, by the way. Yeah, I mean, I do echo what Tafi said, right? I mean, you cannot be a master in all technologies for sure, especially nowadays, right? But yeah, the view is different, right? And what kind of an architect you are going to be as well, right? I won't say if you are a master in one technology, I mean, you don't have to be a master, but I mean, at least if you are really an expert in one technology, and if you feel comfortable with your experience and knowledge, the experience is like a key thing as well, because you cannot ignore experience. I mean, experience is very important. So, I mean, if you are comfortable by knowing that, okay, I have enough experience, I mean, I solved many problems, I created many solutions, right? Then you can be an architect for that technology. Okay. Like I said, the enterprise and solution and technical architects, right? I mean, if you really want to be a technical architect of that technology, like for example, Salesforce, when I became master on that, I mean, I can definitely be a Salesforce architect, right? But in some cases, I have seen many other people, or even some part of my career, even I was focusing more broader than one technology, right? Yes, I mean, I might be a master in Salesforce, but the same time, I started dealing with a lot of enterprise clients who have 40 plus systems. I don't have to be a master or even expert on all those systems, but if I can talk about all those systems, if I know why that system is there, I can think of being moving towards an enterprise architect. I mean, if I can put together an enterprise architecture, if I can help somebody to say that, hey, I mean, where this technology, this system fits in your organization, right? I mean, and you or how these things happens, right? And then I can be or I can go towards an enterprise architect. Or if you are very good at data, I mean, I have seen some people are really good at data. I mean, it might not even like a technology specific, like a tool, right? But if you're really good at data, you can think of becoming a data architect, right? So
Right.
yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that's my answer for that. I hope I
Exactly.
answered your question, but yeah.
Right. And I have another question from Barish. Can we be an architect before getting too much of experience on software engineer? Is software architect similar to software engineering or a different path?
That's a great question as well. You don't, I mean, it's always better to be an architect after getting more experience. I won't say too much, but I mean, more experience as a software engineer, right? Because essentially, what architect do, right? I mean, architect have two sides of it, right? I would put it in this way. I mean, in an architect's life, 25 to 30% of the time they spend with the customer by giving them or helping them to make the right decisions, or giving them a guidance on what they should do in a strategic perspective. But the 70 to 75 percent of their effort go towards the development or software engineering team who develops it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have more experience as a software engineer, then you can easily talk their language. I mean, I have seen architects without coming from a developer background or a software engineer background. Then the problem is, yes, they might be really great at putting a solution together, but they cannot think from their perspective, right? I mean, they might
Right.
not be able to communicate or convey the message to them. So I always suggest to gain maximum experience as a software engineer first. I mean, doesn't have to be like a programmer always, but I mean, as a software engineer first. And then not by the degree, but more from the experience, and then try go towards architect, right? I mean, like I said, overnight you will never become an architect for sure. I mean, so the
Right.
experience is key. So how that experience comes in? I mean, the experience comes in as a software engineer or working as part of the team on the technical area.
Right. I mean, I do agree with that, because the reason is that unless and until you come across different problems, you are not challenged to give a solutions. So you need to come across different problems to overcome that solution in an efficient manner. And most of the time, you may not know that upfront, because you might not be challenged with that problem before. And that's where your seniority comes from, where people who have been already before you, who worked with you, they guided you, and that pass on to you as an experience, like, to build more and more enterprise level software. So guidance, that's what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I just want to elaborate on the other point which I said, talk on their language, right? I mean, even I have seen some places where the architects will design a solution and throw to the team, and then they move on. But the team don't even know what to do. I mean, because they don't understand that, right? So they don't know why it is there. So I mean, I always put in a way that, I mean, it's not just design the solution, but try to educate them why it is solution in this way, so that they can understand. That's what I meant by their language.
Right. We have one more question here from Ajay. Um, is there a prejudice against non-technical people in this area who self-taught or learn things later in the life, like somebody who is self-taught? Is there any
Yeah, I
kind
mean,
of prejudice on that?
yeah, I mean, definitely, right. So one of the key area for non-technical people are the solution architect, right? I have seen great solution architects who might not even have much technology or like a background, right? But they are
Mhm.
very good at the functional domains, right? I mean, so that's a great question, because that's one of the reason why I put those three main different type of architects there. Because if you, I mean, I'm just throwing an example as banking, right? I mean, so I have seen banking solution architects who are really good at their business domain, who knows how the business works, how their processes works, right? But on later on their life, I mean, they try, as they started working with along with the other technical folks, they probably know what they are talking about, but not in depth of technology, but they can communicate with that, right? So those,
Right.
I mean, I have seen many solution architects who are really good at the domain, but their role is mainly to help the client or business to create the functional solutions than the technical, but communicate the same with the technical architects. I mean, they might not be communicating with the developer, so they don't really need to know in depth of how they are going to develop. But they can communicate the same with the technical architect, so that, I mean, the technical architect can take from there to here. So yes, I mean, definitely, like I said, I mean, technology, you don't really have to be coming from the technical background, but whatever you learned throughout the experience is going to be a key
Mhm.
important aspect.
Right. With that being said, that, oh, one more question. Okay, now questions are following. Okay. How can we analyze the solutions or technologies? Is there any framework or a principle to quantify the solution or technology?
That's a question which I don't have a direct answer to, because there is no defined way of analyzing a solution or technologies, right? I mean, technology. So defining technologies, right? I mean, when you have a use case, choosing a technology is need to go through a lot of process based on what the client can accommodate, or what is existing versus what you can bring in, right? When I go to a client, I mean, they, yes, I mean, as you know, I mean, I'm primarily focused on Salesforce, but when I go to a
Mhm.
client, if they have an alternative better technology already there, and Salesforce might be much better than that. But again, you have to think about in a realistic scenario, does it make sense for them to get rid of what they already spend a lot and then get adding another one, right? Or even the same thing with the solution as well. Solution is case to case basis. It's purely case to case basis. I mean, if you have a problem one, and that solution for the problem one would be completely different with solution for the problem two, or even between the organization, the same problem might exist on a different organization, but based on
Mhm.
their systems and processes, that solution would be there. There are
Right.
frameworks or principles for like an enterprise architect solution and everything. And I mean, there are many, right? But that I won't say that is essential for this. That will definitely help because it is proven frameworks. But for a solution or finding a technology, I don't see there are any kind of a defined framework. It is more for like an following the enterprise architecture process. There is a framework. There are multiple frameworks or principles. Another thing, I mean, that each technology have its own principles and guidelines, right? That's kind of a defined best practices. It's definitely better to know, because as an architect you have to suggest the best industrial standard best solutions or suggestions. So, I mean, I'm not saying like you have to definitely memorize everything and go there, but it should come from experience and what you are learning, right? And you can do that case to case basis as well. I mean, when you are gonna, based on the solution or problem you are addressing, you can try to do a research on that area and give suggestions. There is no defined or it's all about you, right? I mean, which path you choose.
Right. I completely agree with that. And think we can take one more question for the session. How essential are certification when becoming a good software architect? I definitely agree we need to have certifications when you got. And you probably might have seen in the first slide how many certifications is Shiyas on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So to become a software architect, you don't really need any certifications, to be very honest. Yeah, but yeah. I mean, that's why I'm sure that, I mean, I was pretty sure that this question is coming. That's the reason why I said in the first slide. I mean, there will we can talk about certifications later, right? I mean, you have seen. I mean, I have around 14 certifications Salesforce and a couple of others as well, right? But certification always help. Essentially, where you are going to work, right? You're not going to work for I mean, yeah, sometimes you may work for your own company or, I mean, your own organization which you develop, create, right? In that case, you don't need a certification, right? I mean, it's more about this. See, in my personal life, I would say certification helped me a lot in two different things, right? One, to identify what you don't know, right? So 14 certification which I took because of, not because of to put those logos in my profile. That helps. That's another thing, to be very transparent. That helps. But mainly to assess myself how much I know and what I don't know, right? I mean, when I try for a certification, I can understand that, I mean, these areas I never worked, so I need to learn about it, right? Maybe the other 60% of the area which I know because I already worked on it, right? So, I mean, that giving me an opportunity to identify what I know and what I don't know, so that, I mean, I can learn those new things. Second, I mean, how good I am is, right? I mean, so that that's kind of an assessing yourself. The very next point, which kind of benefited a lot for me, I mean, it might be different for others. So essentially what you're going to do, right? You're going to work for somebody else, some other organization, or you're going to create something for a client on a day-to-day basis. It might be different clients. How do they know how good you are, right? So this is an easy way to showcase them how good you are. Putting those certifications on the plate, I mean, they don't have to worry about, are you really good at those technology or those areas, because you already proved it's industry standard things. But yeah, I mean, like I said, if you are on your own company, you're just not worrying about anything else, you don't need another you don't need certifications.
Right. I think we have one more last question. I think
That's
we
fine.
should just okay. So is architect is an expertise in any specific domain, like banking or any specific domain?
So, I mean, I think I was kind of covering a little bit of this on that 3 different architects thing, right? It depends on what kind of an architect you are going to be, right? I mean, like I said, to become a solution architect, you can be a specific business domain. I mean, domain is a word you can describe in different ways, right? So if you're good at that business functional area, that's what your sweet spot, then you can be a banking domain solution architect, right, for that domain, like banking or healthcare. I have seen different, or even technical domain as well, for, like I said, the data architects, right, who might not even know much about other technologies, but they might be very good at the process of the data, or the data transformation, data migration, right? Integration architect. Some folks are really expert on that area. They can be an integration architect. We cannot label them as a technical architect because they might not be able to figure out solution for on a technical perspective for some other applications, but they might be very good at this, right? So it depends on what area. You have to be on expertise on some to become an architect for sure, but based on what you are good at, you can put the path forward where you have to be.
Right. I think time's up, I believe. If there are more questions, we have to ask, like, please feel free to reach out to Shiyas, he's in LinkedIn. You can add him and you can ask the questions there to him directly. At the same time, please, most of you guys probably following our social media. Reach out to us. You can get him connected, and then again, it's really a insightful session in terms of like getting the knowledge or getting the person who traveled before us and get that kind of pass towards the new upcoming people. It's always a good thing. That's all about like making this particular hackathon or the talk show is all about. I really appreciate your time to get the get in terms of passing this information. Thank you so much. Yes.
Sure, and I'm happy to share my knowledge and experience at any point. Like Tofi said, I'm at LinkedIn, and Tofi, you can probably put my LinkedIn ID on somewhere. So yeah, I'm happy to answer any question. You can just based on my availability, I'm happy to answer any question. You can just ping me there or connect me there. Yeah, I mean, and wish you all the success, Tofi, to you and all of them who are attending on this session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we will be having a 10 minutes break, less than 10 minutes break. We'll be back with another session. He's from software engineer from Google. His name is Quan, and we will be here shortly. So we'll be back. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thanks.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that, like, when you learn from the universities or colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. Real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. The academy helps every individual who has different abilities, such as probably some of them are like engineers, most of them. There are people who are creative persons, there are people who have management skills. So there are different qualities of people having in life which can be trained into particular path, so that everybody has some space in this particular field itself. So how can you become a professional is what the training from Archies Academy we are focused on.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development, so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
This summer, the ultimate hackathon begins. Innovate, develop, pitch, and win, all from the comfort of your home. Join Endurance, a 2-day global virtual hackathon. Compete with some amazing and brilliant developers from around the world. Get access to industry leaders across the globe and learn from the best. Explore the various verticals within the software industry through workshops. Connect and network with global companies and universities. Challenge yourself to difficult problems to win great prizes worth more than $1,200 of training. Register today. Endurance. Code away into your technologist future.
Hello, good morning, Quan.
Hi, Tofi. How are you?
I am doing good. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah.
It's been, I don't know how many years we have been not seen each other. And it's
Yeah.
so weird that after a long time we are catching up like this.
Yeah.
Um, but first of all, let me try to welcome you to Endurance. And it's been going good. We started today morning, and we have a lot of candidates from different parts who has been involved in doing some coding exercises,
Cool.
mostly in the web development space. And so far, we just completed one another talk with Shiyas. He's a Salesforce architect, worked in IBM, Accenture, etc. And now here you are, and uh, to have a brief history about Yukon and me, we both worked together years ago in Champaign, Illinois, where we part of the same team, and it was wonderful experience to be a person who has worked along together.
Yeah.
And since then, he has moved to Google. I think let me correct it. Maybe 5 years ago, if I'm right. Five,
Oh, 4 or 5 years ago.
five,
Yeah.
5 years ago, and
About there.
he has been working in the Google machine learning team for Google Cloud machine learning team.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been a pleasure you to be here, and the endurance is all about giving information or giving how the people who are thriving. There are a lot of grad students or people who are looking for a career, have a successful career in software development, and
Mhm.
sharing our experiences, how
Yeah.
you become, etc. So, why don't you introduce yourself just now, and where you're from, and how you have been, your journey, etc. That would be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Hi, everyone. So my name is Quan, and I'm currently a Google software engineer. And uh, and maybe let me share a bit about my journey and how I became a software engineer. So when I was young, I was very interested in computers, so I started to learn programming like when I was a teenager, and after that I decided to go on and study physics instead. So I did a physics degree, and then I came to US. I did my graduate studies, and then while doing my physics degree, I was thinking about, okay, I'm not sure like what the future will hold. So I did like my project was on computational physics. So basically, it was a mix of coding and physics as well. So then after that, I graduated and then decided to go back to software engineering. So at that point in time when I graduated, I actually decided to let me try just to go for, I applied to like 10 different companies. So but as you can imagine, even though I was doing a graduate degree, I just graduated with a PhD, but then it was a PhD in physics. So then I wasn't quite employable in computer science, even though I had some experience with programming, problem solving. I won some awards when I was younger, but then that didn't help very much. So at that point in time, I had applied to Google as well. And so when I first so when applying, there are several things to take note of, right? One is the resume. The resume is very important too. So it gives a record what you have done. And for me, when I was in US in my grad school, I had actually tried to do 2 startup projects with my friends. That means we got together, we built a website, and nowadays it's very easy, right? You can go on GitHub and just contribute some code, or you can start your own project, build a website, look at what you like. Maybe you like doing visualization, a website, JavaScript, or you like backend systems. You can things like this. You can put them online pretty easily nowadays, and then in the future you can put it into a resume. So I had worked on two startup projects. One was like a website for food delivery, and another one was an iOS app for a hospital. So, but in the end, these didn't quite work out. But I learned quite a bit of stuff, how to get things running, or how to set up business and things like this. And then after that, so when I graduated, there wasn't a lot on my resume that would tell companies that I'm good software engineer. And of course, there are some skills which I had. For example, working with algorithmic problem solving, building front end systems. But then so then when the resume goes out, there are I would say there are two main different tiers of companies. One is the top tier companies, whereby, for example, Google, Amazon, Facebook, and what they look for are people who have problem solving skills, who are generalists, who are able to solve problems across a diverse range of disciplines. So then this was the kind of companies which are more likely look for people like me, because I know I have good problem solving skills, but then I didn't have a long list of achievements to show. So then but also there are the other companies which are out there looking for just software engineers, and these require a level of problem solving skills, but also very good not domain knowledge. Let's say if some companies might be looking for network engineers, or backend engineers, or front-end engineers. So then on the resume, it should be very clear about what one has done with regards to that. So for me, when I first applied, there were very few companies which were willing to offer me an interview. So, but still, Google gave me an interview. I think they were pretty adventurous in that sense, because I didn't have that much on my resume. But so I went for on that very first time when I first tried to go for Google, I went through the phone screen, and after that I went to the on-site. And at the on-site, so the interview process usually is like there'll be a phone screen, one of two of these. Then after that there'll be an on-site interview. For companies like Google, usually it's like a full day on-site interview, and that would have been before COVID. Nowadays, even though it's called on-site, it's usually virtual nowadays. And so in the on-site, for me, it was like a series of five interviews in one day. And by on-site, it means that they actually give you the plane tickets, they give you a hotel stay and a car, so that you can get to the campus. And so and the main thing is that on the on-site, then you get to meet the interviewers, and they'll give you questions. And of course, I didn't have answers to all the questions right on the spot. And then different skill sets come in for the on-site. For example, communication skills. When there's a question which you need more clarification, then you need to ask and converse with the interviewer. And even if the problem might be difficult at first, then conversing with the interviewer will usually try to guide or hint at which direction to go. And so what I realized at the point in time was that even though previously I had done problem solving, I have solved some questions on LeetCode and algorithm contests. But then I wasn't very very well prepared, in the sense that, for example, there was this I remember it was a binary search question, and then when I first attempted it, I was like able to write the code, but then it wasn't optimized and there were lots of if statements. Then I tried to rearrange it, and then I spent about maybe like 5 minutes trying to rearrange the code to optimize it. But if I had previously of course, I had binary search at the back of my mind. I knew how it works, but then in order to code it out right there under time constraints, that was something that I needed to work on. So when the first time when I first went for Google, it didn't work out. But then after that, I went to I got hired and as a software engineer, and that's where I met Tofik, and it was a good experience. I actually learned a lot about front-end engineering, learned about frameworks, about front-end frameworks, and at the time there were so many JavaScript frameworks that were coming out, and it was really exciting. And I think nowadays still. and then
it's
after
more
that,
now.
yes. and so then after that, I applied for the Google recruiter reached out to me again because I had previously applied, and they asked, would you like to apply again? And I was like, okay, let me try again. And so this time I had more preparation. This time I spent quite a lot of time to prepare on lead code to really polish my skills, and also to practice whiteboarding, because at a point in time, the on-site interviews meant that we have to write on the whiteboard. And I realized that writing on the whiteboard is quite different from coding on a computer. There's no like syntax highlighting, there's no tabulations and all that. And so I practiced problem solving. I practiced the medium levels on lead code and some of the hard problems to make sure that I'm familiar. And I chose languages which I'm familiar in, Java and JavaScript. And then I made sure that after being able to write code on the computer, I'm able to transfer that to a whiteboard. That means I must be able to think about how to structure the code in my mind, and then how to write it out on a whiteboard. I had to practice all these from end to end. And then so when I went for the interview a second time, I was much more prepared, and also much more at the end of the day, it was much more I would say it was a tiring day to go through 5 interviews in the same day, but eventually I went through it, pretty well. So I would say several things to, if you're that's more what I had mentioned is more on the professional side of things, which is how to how about preparation, preparing the resume, and then preparing for the phone interview and then on-site interview, really practicing the problems, practicing end-to-end, and also working on what is the area that really want to do, and then choosing the areas, for example, languages that you're comfortable in, these things. But and that's only one part of it, I would say. But also the other part is more on the personal development side point of view, and that's I think that's where Archies Academy, where Tofik is, what Tofik is doing is important, because a lot of times these skills we can practice and we can go out there and do a lot of problems and all that, but sometimes it really helps to really think about for example, where we can get advice, we can get guidance from, and also, for example, where I imagine that many of the people who are listening right now, perhaps they are in their college, and then they are trying to find a direction and all that, and or maybe in the early stages of their career. So then what I think is that really to look for people who can mentor people. It could be anywhere from like a senior in a school, or an alumni, or or what Archies Academy can offer, these would really help to have guidance, to be on track, to pace yourself, and also to know which direction is more suitable. Because ultimately, I mean, I've gone for one when I first went for the Google interview. Then after that, it was a rejection. So then, of course, I felt upset. I felt down. But then I didn't give up just there. So then I kept on looking for companies. I went to work in Illinois Champaign for a year and a half. And then what kept me going, what kept me to apply to the second time and then work even harder this time. So that's where I feel if I had, for example, someone who can coach me, someone who could guide me through the process, it would have been better. Because then it was more about finding a direction. It was more about finding what I enjoyed doing. It was more about passion and purpose, what I really wanted to do in my life. And it's more about, and there are many things in life, for example, when you keep going, there's a lot of things in life which might not go very smoothly. And it is during those points in time when having a coach, a mentor, or someone who you can talk to, that's very important. And also really understanding, going deeper into yourself and finding what is it that you love doing. And for me, software engineering, writing code is something that I've always been something interested in, because I liked creating. It's like if I can eat, right? If I look at what's on the screen, I would like to know what's behind the scenes. Can I cook? Can I code something so as to create like the web page that I see right here? That's something I've always been interested in. So I got into programming because I really liked the process of creation, of creating code or creating food. And so that's something I really loved. So I think it's this passion, is this purpose that when things get tough, or when you have to go for a second time, when you experience failures, then how do you know how to pick up yourself, how to know which direction to go, how do you know you can keep going? That's when I think that it's important to find like a coach, a mentor. Yeah.
I mean, you are absolutely right in terms of if I had a person, the same thing with any software engineers. I feel like if I had somebody who would have been guided me, that process to take the journey would have been much faster. And that's the truth. I mean, in any field, and it does not have to be like, in Archies, that's one of those things, the core thing which we are providing. But as you mentioned, it has to be somebody. It has to be somebody providing that one.
Yeah.
I mean, really inspiring that you kind of summarized your last almost 10 years probably
Yes.
just now in terms of in last 50 minutes. And it's some of those things when you look back how we were and how things happen, it's kind of it flashes in a very quick manner, right? As soon as it's funny that it's just like you just mentioned everything in 10 minutes, but it took a lot number of years to reach out there. I have something to share actually. Let me go and see how I can share this. Okay, so let me see if that can be shared.
Okay.
Okay. And you, Quan, me and you probably maybe I don't know how many years, something like we are in office and we are chilling and we are working together. That's a long number of years ago.
Okay.
I don't know whether you have that photo with you or not. I was just trying to see. I don't know whether you guys saw it or not. I'll send you across later if you haven't.
Okay. Sure. Yeah.
So you can how did the Google changed? That would be the one of those questions that people might have, because now getting inside Google, it's a tedious process. That's has its
Yes.
own rigorous interviews and stuff like that. But getting a job is one thing, and working there as an person, a software engineer, is another thing. How is that like
Mhm.
for you? That's one of those things people may not be like. If you go to an online forum or Glassdoor or anywhere, people will be like mostly mentioning about how to get there. It's like the
Yeah.
movie, right? You saw the movie. What
Yes.
happens after that? That may not. So how
Yes.
is your life in Google for the last few years?
Yeah. So it's okay. So uh, well, to get to Google is definitely very competitive, right? That I think Google receives like 2 million resumes a year, and that, but maybe hundreds or no, actually, definitely in the thousands, or tens of thousands, people get interviewed. But the thing is, after getting then uh, first Google, I would say, is in the Bay Area. So I work in the Bay Area, but Google has different offices, and each office, depending on its location, it has its own culture and all that. From within Google, people are generally helpful and they are pretty supportive. But of course, depends on the team. Depends because, for example, if people working on a cutting edge projects like Waymo, or the next big thing, then that would be quite fast paced. You're almost like in a startup. Um, in more established products, things like Google Search or Google Maps or Gmail, which has been around for like 10 years or more, then and in these products, things are slower paced, but then the architecture, the infrastructure is huge. So which means that most people might not even fully get to understand the whole product or the whole backend or the whole infrastructure. Most people might work on just a very tiny bit of it, and
Mm-hmm.
but then this also means that the ability to work with huge data code bases, that's important, because working on one part, it might be just connecting two parts of the code base together, but then you have to look down this part of the code base and the part of the code base, and then so it's important to be able to work with people, to reach out always for help if needed, because then it's the people who are taking care of the code. Sometimes I've worked on smaller projects before getting to Google, but when I went to Google, it was like, wow, the code base is really huge. And because of how Google works, it tries to produce its own technologies internally. So a lot of the code that we write are not open sourced. So which means that when I want to ask questions, it would not be like on Stack Overflow. It would be on internal. I have to ask people who are internal, and who are familiar with the part of the code I'm dealing with. Yeah, internal frameworks and all that. But that is the most important part of the work, because and even when I took part in algorithm competitions, even though I've won awards before, but when I got into Google, I'm pretty much an average engineer in Google. So I'm not
Yeah, like
I'm
you are
not
so
one.
humble enough to say that.
I'm not like the fastest coder. I'm not like I'm not like the coder who's, but I try. What I can do is the best. Try to make sure that my code is of good quality when I
Perfect.
submit the code,
Perfect.
and
Yeah.
also there are no from in Google, there's coding styles, and these coding styles are online, so we can look them up. About how to keep a code base sane. For example, naming conventions, indentation, how to structure the code and test for the code, things like this, right? To make sure that the code is in good shape. So, and also there's of course code reviews to make sure that things are properly checked in, and checked in code is sensible and maintainable. So things like this, processes that help to keep the code base manageable. But more importantly is, I would say, is to in Google, of course, what is out there, more people might think is like, oh, there's free food, there's bean bags, there's massage chairs and all the benefits. But getting into Google, yes, there are all these benefits, right? There's a pool table right down from where I worked last time, but I didn't get to play pool at all. I think I only did once when where some friends came by and I showed them around. That was it. But so it's really some people. For example, there's gym also in Google, and people use it. So like after work, they use the gym. Like 5 p.m. they go to the gym and then do some workout, and then before going home, or people stay for dinner. And so on. But then I think most important thing about Google is really focusing on self-development as an engineer, because getting into Google means that it's one thing, but also the other thing is that there are many people in Google who are very, very talented, who are much better than you. Then how can you leverage and learn from them, and how to become better as a software engineer? So even now, even I've been in Google for more than 4 years, I'm still learning every day about different technologies, different systems, and there's always something new. And within Google, large companies like Google is so big. It's like if you want to work on web development, there's always a team. If you want to switch to something like iOS, you want to switch to even hardware development, Chrome OS development, things like this, then it is easy to switch around between teams within Google itself. So there's this flexibility which the company provides. Oh wow! Now I see the picture. Okay, cool. Oh yeah. So I would say that, and I think what really like about Google is the culture. It's more about the people. It's like when I run into difficulties, and I know that there are people I can reach out to, and people can ask questions. People are generally supportive, and I've got colleagues, a number of them, who have went off Google to start to work in other companies. After that, they came back. And I think partly it's due to the culture in Google. All right, so I see this question: what does Google look for in an employee? So okay, so this goes back to the resume part. So the resume, so for the interviews parts, there are ways to work on it, which is just to do problem solving. There is for example, lead code, cracking the coding interview. Nowadays, you can get a lot of resources on this, and also higher level, like if you get coaching from Archies Academy, this will be helpful. And but for the resume, Google looks for nowadays they don't use a machine. They don't use humans to look at the resumes anymore because they get too much. What they do is to have first like a OCR machine learning algorithm to look at the resume, and then they pick out keywords, and then after that they go through the recruiter. So then it's important to structure the resume such that it is because when Google wants to look at a potential hire, then they first look at the resume. So it's important to have things basically listed out in the resume such that it's well structured, such that it's usually 1 or 2 pages at most, 2 pages at most, and then with the skill set that can offer. So when recruiters look at you, they don't look at how much they can pay you. They look at what can offer, right? So it's important in the resume and to build up the resume so as to demonstrate what you can offer. And in doing that, it means that which stage of your life you are in right now, is to keep doing what you really love doing, so that these can be listed down in a resume. in a clear format. So for example, skills like coding skills, like you have JavaScript or C++, front-end, back-end experience, all that. And then things can demonstrate leadership. For example, if you have, if you are part of a school event, if you led a team to raise a certain amount of money for a charitable event, or if you are, if you have won an award in a sports event, and you led a team in doing that, or you can organize events in your own. For example, now you're in a hackathon, you can also organize a hackathon wherever you are. Things like this, leadership, taking initiative. If you are interested really in a field, let's say if you're really interested to solve, let's say in your school, you find that the food in your school is not very good, there's a few restaurants out there, and you really want the food to be delivered to a school, why not try to solve it yourself? Build a food delivery website, there's DoorDash. And nowadays there are tutorials online, how to build an iOS app, how to build a simple Instagram app, build a simple web page whereby you can get people to interact. All these are online, and especially with Archies Academy, I'm sure you can get much more guidance. So that's in terms of how to build up the resume. But Google looks for, firstly, people, not only people who are intelligent or people who have problem-solving skills, but more importantly, people who can contribute to the culture. Basically, people who are good with soft skills as well, working with other people, being willing to contribute, being willing to support other people as part of a team member, and also are people who are learners, people who can work between different fields, generalists, people who can work between different fields and then learn, are not afraid of learning, people who want to improve themselves, people who want to think big and then be able to bring that to fruition, being able to persist and be able to go the extra mile so as to help people, to think for the users, to think about the edge cases, and also to be able to want to contribute. Yes, so it's not only about the mental, the intellect, the problem-solving skills, but also about what you can offer, being of service to people, helping people. Yeah. To solve most of your problems at work by Googling them. Well, in a sense, so most of the problems at work, some of them can be solved by Googling, but most of it is true just by first I need to figure out what is the areas that the problem that I'm solving, what project I'm working on, what's the scope of it, what is the end product, and how long do I have to accomplish that. Then the rest is just going through the code base, understanding what the things I need to do and pieces I need to put together, and then putting them together into a design document. And then the rest is just implementation. So through this process, actually, much of it, because I've mostly worked within the frameworks that is internal, so usually I don't get to Google them. Usually I would just talk to colleagues, learn about the technologies that I need to learn about, and then start implementing them, reading through the code base. Yeah, right. So yeah.
That's a good question, though. Like, do you solve the problems? Where does the Googlers go to Google?
Yeah. So then, yeah, it's more about collaboration, really, and it's more about working closely with teammates, reaching out to other teams if there are other. For example, if I don't understand this part of the frameworks, and then I'll reach out to someone on the framework and understand,
exactly
how it works. Yeah.
I mean, one good thing, most of you guys may not know that back in the day, I used to manage even Yukon, like, as a team. I was a manager for him, and he knows my style of guiding people, in terms of, because I always believe in teamwork rather than a sole person, because that's the complete motivation. As a team, you can be stronger and you can do much great. And probably you saw the photo. In that photo, the thing is, every one of those people in that photo right now is in Amazon, Salesforce, and Microsoft, and in Google. That's like, I managed all the photos. It's like the big companies out there. And some of them were I joined as a trainee. When Song Song was joined as a trainee when he joined. So it is like, you are absolutely right. Like, the most important thing for me as being a manager or being a person who has been guidance for a long number of years now, teamwork. That's the most important, teamwork. Do not try to get the thing like as an ego, I am the best person. No, it's helping out other people as well. That's really important. That's one of those things, even with the hackathon, which we are trying to do. We try to bring in people from all different places, not to have a team which they know already, because in a software company, as you went to join in Google, you never had a chance to choose your teammates there, because you went there and you be in that team, and then you choose to work with each other. So how to be respectful, how to be able to agree to, sometimes when you are in a fast-paced, smart environment, there will be conflicts that cannot be avoided. When smart people work, there will be conflict, but how to resolve a conflict without being into a full-blown war. The conflict resolution should be in such a way, like, being gentle enough to say agree to disagree sometimes. Your idea is good, being humble. Those things is really important when you are in working in big companies. Going to the next question.
Yeah.
We started hearing degree doesn't matter to get a job. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, so nowadays, if you, for example, especially in the software engineering field, some people can get a job in the software engineering field without getting a degree. And how do they get that? Usually they have, for example, GitHub, or they built a website, or they have done their own projects, and they are able to show that, they're able to show the results, or they have done. And so when they interview, and the companies would give them interview and then bring them in, and I would say that for most companies, they still look for like a bachelor's, I would say, but then but the bachelor's, I would say, it's not the most important thing. I mean, some people might have graduated with a bachelor's, and it might not be a very good GPA, but then on the other hand, they have done very good work before, whether they have their own websites, or they have their own business running, or things like this.
Right.
But then I would say that the degree having a degree is a safer route. But then a degree doesn't mean everything, right? Because
Right.
there's still the interview process. There's still competition out there. But I think most importantly, there are people who are able to get a job without a degree because they are able to demonstrate, firstly, mastery in a certain field, right? So,
Right.
for example, if you look at the job market out there, then in order to stand out, then you have to do something such that you shine, and then you're better than the rest of the people out there. But how do you demonstrate that? So this is the thing, because if nobody has told you before that you have a gift, then let me tell you today that you have a gift. And if nobody has told you that they love you before, then let me tell you that I love you, right? Why is this important? Because when I believe that each one of us inside there, that we have gift to share. That's where we can support other people, and contribute to a team, contribute to the rest of society, right? We're not alone in our own island, and we're here to help other people and to be part of the community. Then but then how the next important thing is to find the gift, right? And this is something that you love doing, that you can do well, and when you get good at it, you get much better than other people. Then this is the gift you can share with other people. So that's where also where I think coaching is quite important, because sometimes coaching helps you to find within yourself where the gift is, if you haven't found it. But once you have found it, then the next thing is to hone it, is to make it better and better and better, such that you can get to the top of your field. It may, for in software engineering, there are many different skills that could be built. For example, it may not be the ability to code at a very fast pace, or to make sure the code is flawless. But then more importantly, for example, understanding frameworks, putting frameworks together, how to find different technologies to build a technology stack. So there are different levels of skills that are in software engineering that could be used. And some people have a gift at different levels of the software stack. So some people could be very good with backend. Some people could be very good with frontend. But it's more important to find where it is that you really love doing, and then so as to hone your gift until you can become the very best in your field. Then when you are able to do that, then you can easily demonstrate, do projects, work with people, work with teams, find ways to demonstrate it such that you can, build something that to show people where your skill is. Then after that, then this is where you shine. This is where for some people, that the degree didn't matter to them, because they shine at certain things that that makes them much better than other people out there in the market, right? So yeah,
I have to add one more thing to what you just now said. It's absolutely right. Like, to showcase your skill, degree may not be the thing which might matter, because sometimes you have the talent in you to. So, like, I know that there are certain people starts coding very young in the age, like 10 years and all. Nowadays, it's very common. They start very young. They don't even need to go to the university to get that. The degree does matter, according to me. For the number one thing would be like when you need an immigration. That's the number one thing. The immigration to US, especially because we have been and worked in US, even if you are really good, you cannot get into the country with a visa without having a degree, because that still remains the same.
Yes.
So if you are a US citizen who have been born and raised in US and you're looking for a company in US to hire, you may not need it. You may not need it. You showcase your skill. You can get into Google or Facebook or Twitter or whatever companies like they look for the talents. Even Elon Musk tweeted about things like, oh, you know what, you need to find the right person. That's so true in the case of you are actually in US. But if you want to migrate, like most of us, like you can't come from Singapore and I come from India. If you want to go to the country as in US, you wouldn't have able to go there without a degree. That's where important degree comes from. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. Yes. So yes, definitely. So yeah, that's very true.
That's one of those things. And like, the next question I would like to go forward would be like, how big is code base for Google search?
Yeah, I think it's on the order of billions of lines of code.
What?
No, sorry. I think that's for the whole of the. So when we think of the Google code base, it's actually one big code base that's shared throughout Google. So that means Google Search, Google Maps, Gmail, everything is on the same code base. Why we do that is because, firstly, internally, we have internal frameworks, and then if you want to share these internal frameworks with everyone in Google, then it makes sense for this kind of architecture, and then it avoids certain dependencies as well. If we have different repositories, then different teams might actually replicate the same feature, and so on. So I would say I would say, so billions is for the whole Google code base, but then I think for Google search, I guess it's on the order of millions, I guess.
Wow, that's a big insight for the Google search. How many hours a week do you work? Does
Okay.
it matter even how many hours? But like, I'll ask that question. How many hours do you work?
Yeah. So I mean, I'm a typical employee in the US, so I work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, so that's 40 hours. But then of course during the workday, so before COVID, Google is actually quite flexible. What do I mean by flexible? Let's say if you want to go to the, let's say you want to go to the gym before you go for lunch, you could do that, right? You can spend half an hour at the gym and then go for lunch. If for example, within Google there are self-improvement courses, so we have for example courses, instrument courses, if you like guitar, or piano, or singing, or other types of classes like improv classes or speaking courses or presentation skills courses, all these kinds of things. And then you could take those courses that for example once a week, and it doesn't affect, it's part of the 40 hours. The Google would allow you happily to do that. Yeah, so I would say that the standard is 40 hours per week. Yeah.
So that's kind of that's like the normal work hours in US in general. But
Yes.
nowadays with the COVID situation, there is literally there is no work hours because you just don't go anywhere outside.
Yeah.
And this is the only thing which you know how to do the best, and you just be in it. That's it. There's nothing else you can
Exactly.
do.
Yes.
Yeah. Janara has a lot of questions, and I think she's like, oh, I want to get into Google somehow. So, how do you keep positive work-life balance?
Yeah, so a positive work-life balance. So what I do, so there are several things we can do to prepare. I mean, I know several people in Google, for example, for example, we work in the main office that's in Mountain View in Silicon Valley in California. And then there are people who live in San Francisco, and that is like the traffic in the Bay Area can get quite bad. Sometimes it takes 1.5 hours, sometimes it takes 2 hours or more for them to get from San Francisco to Mountain View. So I know of a friend who rides the earliest bus, like 6 a.m. in the morning, or 5:30 in the morning, and then there's because at the time there's no traffic, it takes like 45 or 1 hour, 45 minutes or 1 hour to get to Google, and then he does some reading, some meditation, and then he starts work, and then he goes home early, like 3 p.m. or 4 p.m., something like that. So working in Google is pretty flexible in terms of when you want to come or when you want to go, as long as you, most importantly, getting the work done, right? And make sure that you have enough overlap so that your colleagues can find you and work with you. That's one thing, because it's I would say the other thing to keep things balanced is more of doing self-care routines. That means if you enjoy running, go ahead, or if you things that you enjoy doing, try to find a balance as well. For example, doing before work or after work, reading or running, or if you like playing sports, or if you want like spend time with your family or your pets. It's important to find time to do that, and to have a time whereby, okay, now I'm off work, then that's it. The rest of it is family time. The rest of it is time for my loved ones. Yeah.
Right. It's pretty much making sure that you have enough things in your head and having that balance enough to be sane, rather than going all different person in terms of getting things done, because it's a stressful environment. And that's one of those reasons probably people think that, hey, you're looking always in the laptop, why are you getting paid a lot? But the thing is that you are in the pace where you kind of get a lot of mental stress in the first place, keeping yourself sane. I would take one more question, and then we can wind up with the closing notes.
Yeah.
The last question, which I would be like, what are the source of you use for self-learning?
Oh, that's that's why Googling comes in. Yeah. So so basically, last time when I was preparing for interviews, I was preparing for interviews. I mean, nowadays it's very easy. You just go online, Google, and you can find many different sources. Most of the recommended books are like Cracking the Coding Interview, Programming Pros, websites like LeetCode, or even I would say, yeah, LeetCode would be very good. Yes, and also. The rest of it is more like, for example, language specific. So, for example, when I was preparing for a JavaScript interview, then I had to learn JavaScript specific questions. For example, about closures, about the latest frameworks, React frameworks. What are the different architectures that are used in the frameworks, and what is the latest frameworks I need to know about, at least things in general about what's out there, and then that's where I think also coaching, mentoring, or reaching out to alumni or seniors will also help, because then they have a much better idea of the landscape, the current landscape. And then
just wanted to add to one point there, like, in the office, we put the Cracking the Coding interviews like a Bible there. That's like the main thing there. Like, we just put it to make sure that like people knows about it. That's our office, and just
Cool.
like, okay, we have that one. Make sure we need to learn this. Okay, so
yes, yeah, that's and also because the questions are always evolving, and I think they are. I would say it's getting more and more challenging. So I would say that it's important to really keep up with the current landscape. What else? I think more importantly is really, I would say that it's not about the sources. I think nowadays a lot of things that can be learned, they are already online, but it's more important to really look at what you really enjoy doing, what you really love, and then go in that direction, and then find people who are ahead of you, people who can mentor you, who can coach you, and then go online and search for resources, because a lot of things are online, but it's more about which direction that you want to go. And in order to explore that, usually like a mentor, a coach, or talking to someone else would be very helpful. Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you so much for sticking around. And then, like, it was really a wonderful session, Yuquan, and it was really insightful in terms of, getting into a place where we have been in terms of like where you started, and getting them into a place where to get it in Google. All of it definitely matters a lot in terms of like, and being the last few years working there, and how it goes, etc. And it's really insightful, and really appreciate your time. And
All right.
and we should catch up after this also. Like,
Sure, definitely. Yeah.
Personally, that you can do it, and it was really wonderful. Before we wind up, any last words which you want to share with people? You want?
Yeah, I'll just say that just find your gift and find things that you love doing, and just be authentic, be true, be true to yourself, and find what it is that you can offer to other people, to be of service to other people, and keep doing it, and keep loving what you do. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much, and it is really appreciate your time. And guys, we will be back soon within 10 minutes with our next session. And people are saying thank you so much to you for that. And have a good rest of your day, Yuquan. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes which not only skill you for the job in the future, but also upskill your already existing ones. With our add-on coaching for interview and communication skills, we make sure that you do what you say, and you say what you do. Our placement and support are extended to you even after your traineeship ends, so that the transition process is easy and you are fully prepared to code away. Be at Archies. Code your future.
This summer, the ultimate hackathon begins. Innovate, develop, pitch, and win, all from the comfort of your home. Join Endurance, a 2-day global virtual hackathon. Compete with some amazing and brilliant developers from around the world. Get access to industry leaders across the globe and learn from the best. Explore the various verticals within the software industry through workshops. Connect and network with global companies and universities. Challenge yourself to difficult problems to win great prizes worth more than $1,200 of training. Register today. Endurance. Code away into your technologist's future.
Archies Academy is a training center which allows anybody who wants to become a software engineer or a software developer who have been either studying in computer science or maybe just any kind of engineering. Sometimes what happens is that when you learn from the universities or in colleges, you will not able to apply those in the real life. You just study, you get the degree, and then you forget about it. real life, what happens is you go through experiences of certain things which allows you to become more and more professionals. So that's what at least in software development field. The academy helps every individual who has different abilities, such as probably some of them are like engineers, most of them. There are people who are creative persons, there are people who have management skills. So there are different qualities of people having in life which can be trained into particular path, so that everybody have some space in this particular field itself. So how can you become a professional is what?
A simple Google search will tell you that 3,898,000 students graduated this academic year, only from the United States, majoring in software-related degrees, such as computer science and IT. So if we pull up the approximate data of people entering the software market every year across the globe, we might actually skip the whole discussion. While students are graduating in crazy numbers, a simple scroll on LinkedIn is enough to vouch for the unemployment, which is spread far and wide. So the industries are growing, jobs are being automated, which needs people skilled in software and related subjects. But the graduates are unemployed. How does this equation not fall balanced? To address these issues, a recent survey of employers demonstrated that the majority of college degrees are redundant and don't equip students with the necessary employable skills. In the software industry itself, many people are losing jobs because of a lack of up-to-date skills. At Archies Academy, we provide training for project management, product development, and program development, so that, along with your college degree or previous experience, you also have experience in the market. At Archies, we mentor you with hands-on training, live projects, and interactive online classes, which not only skill you for the job.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back again to the next session. This is the world of project management. I hope you guys have been doing great for the last two sessions, which was totally different things, like one from the one from the architect who has been in several years in the industry. The other one was like Silicon Valley giant, Google software engineer, and the experience towards how to proceed in software industry as a developer or a software engineer. Today, I would like to welcome Manu, who is a project manager, who has been working as a project manager, product manager, etc. for the last so many years. Now, I would like to introduce him, and Manu, over to you with your project management skills and etc. So, welcome aboard.
All right, Sophie, can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. So that's the first thing that we need to do in meetings. As a project manager, rule number one, always check people are not on mute. Anyway, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. People joining from all over the world. I'm in US. It's morning for us. I know a majority of you are sitting in the evening, so good evening to you. One of the things that I've been very excited is the fact that Endurance is a platform that can connect people from various backgrounds and various industries and various markets or various areas, and then we all have the same common platform for us to collaborate on. So I am a project manager for about close to 10 years, and today's session is all about that. Without any sort of delay, let me just start with the presentation so that we can save up time for the Q&A, right? All right. Let me just make sure that there we go. Okay, so I hope people can see the screen. I actually want to talk about something which is very important in the industry right now with regards to project management, how we have changed the way that we look at project management in modern software teams. One of the things that has been noticed a lot these days has been the fact that we have agile concepts, and I would like to call most of the software development project managers as agile project managers. So today's session or today's talk or today's interaction is all about going to be the agile PM, right? So a little bit about me. I am working as a technical project manager for Wolfram Research. It's a company based out of US. We make computation technology softwares, and that's the area that we work in. And I work in the R&D space of project management. That's what I have been doing for a while, especially given the fact that I have close to 10 plus years of industry experience as a project manager, as a software engineer, and that's what I bring to the table. The other thing that I've been doing, or I have been getting opportunities, has been the fact that I worked and lived in 3 different countries, starting with India, spent some time in Oman in the Middle East, and right now I'm working in the US. The reason why I came to the US was to do my master's. I graduated in 2017 and then ended up getting a job in Champaign, Illinois. Champaign, Illinois, for those of you who do not know, it's a beautiful small university town where there's the university and some cornfields. So if any of you want to visit Champaign, do visit Champaign to see the university and check out the Midwest lifestyle. Anyway, one thing that I'm very excited about usually is that I'm always all about the product and the project. And that's something which I really like, and that's an area which I always enjoyed a lot. So anything related to product or project is what I really enjoy doing. Another thing that I usually don't tell a lot of people, but it's I've got some credentials to back up my claims by saying that I have been certified as a Scrum product owner. So that's something which I was able to get in the recent past. So Scrum, Agile, these are things which I really live by, and these are things which I really enjoy. Okay. So just to give you a bit about what I want to talk about today is agile projects. Some of the words that you keep here in the industry, which is like Scrum, Kanban, things like story points, retrospects, just give you an idea of what the new software team is about and the new roles that as a project manager you are seeing in the industry. So those are the things which I want to work on. Yep. So one thing that I keep hearing a lot of people, by the way, those who have any sort of interaction with people at Archies, we are a bunch of people who love memes. And I've seen that consistently Archies Academy is good at the meme game. So this is, again, I'm starting off the presentation with a meme. So whenever you hear somebody saying about agile project management, and it being a project management, I see a lot of people actually just doing the face palm. Like, people are not very sure if agile is actually a project management process. Now, I think it is. I know a lot of people might not agree to that, but it's just that it is the modern project management methodology that's been adopted across industries, not just software. So there are a lot of other industries also which are adopting it. Okay, so I've been talking about agile and all these things, but what exactly essentially does it mean? The whole thing of project management is about planning, is about executing, is about making sure that you have you have a way for you to measure success, execute projects, understand the requirements, and then convert them into actionable items or milestones. Agile actually is all about making sure that all this is done in a smaller time frame, and you sort of learn to fail fast, and then also learn to quickly change or adopt or adapt faster, because that is very important for people to understand that when you are an agile project manager, you cannot have the luxury of waiting for 1 year to do a project and understand what went wrong. It's all about making sure that you can understand these requirements within, let's say, 2 weeks time period, or let's say 3 weeks time period, so that way you can actually change things quickly. There's a little bit of representation of what the usual process is all about. So a product owner essentially would be somebody who has very close interaction with the customer. They work on the customer requirements, which is put into the backlog. Once you have the customer requirements, you put it into something called as a sprint backlog, and which is like where I would like to talk about two frameworks which are very popular in the industry right now, Scrum and Kanban. So Scrum is all about having projects executed in time-based boxes. So any Scrum are basically made up of, like in Scrum, there's a concept of sprint. Sprint essentially means a time period of 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 week, where you execute a project or where you do certain tasks. Kanban is something which was introduced back in the manufacturing sector. It was all about making sure that it was like a continuous process. But there's also a concept of making sure that you did things in a very quick and fast way. So these are the two popular frameworks in the industry. Again, there are a lot of things to talk about in detail. I do not want to go into that much of detailing right now because I know it's a time of essence, and I want to make sure that I touch on basic concepts, and then we can have a Q&A session where we can have some questions answered. So, yep. All right. So the interesting thing that you must understand is that Agile is also about making sure that you have accountability brought into your processes. What I mean with that is that you have a concept of story points, or essentially how do you estimate things, and then how do you plan for things. These things can be achieved by using a metric called as story points, which are how you say how complex or how much time a specific task would take in an agile methodology. So story points are very important. If you are going to be anywhere working as a developer, as a project manager, as a program manager, or any role, one thing that you should always realize is your software team would have the concept of story points, and it's very important that you understand these things. Story points, as I said, is very simple. It depends on your team, and you can scale it up according to your team's requirement. So the picture on the right essentially is how you do it, where you have multiple people having multiple roles, and then talking about how much story points each task would take. So a developer might be like, it's taking like 10 story points, and the project manager would be like, it's 100 story points. So 10 being like a smaller task, 100 being like a bigger task. So these kind of things, these kind of negotiations actually happen as part of the agile process. And this is something which we should be probably focusing on in the agile world. So that is very important. This is also a place where you can actually do some learning. So when you, as a project manager, one of the things that you should understand is that you would be responsible for estimating the effort required to do something. And that's a learning process. There is no formula where you can get the perfect estimate done every time. It's a iterative process. You keep on changing things. You sort of learn things accordingly. And this is the way that you can do it, because story points gives you an opportunity to ask people how much effort it's going to take. You will have some understanding of how much effort it takes, And it's a combination of these two things which eventually leads you to estimate this much is what I think is going to take for solving some problem or achieving a task. Okay. So another interesting concept in Agile, retrospectives or retrospects. The way that I feel you should understand this is think of it as asking yourselves or asking the team what went right, what went wrong, and what should we keep or what should we keep improving, essentially. And it's also an opportunity for all of the team, essentially, to work on things that can improve and processes or hurdles that you solved. And it's all documented. It's all discussed on a team level. One important thing that I think one important thing that you should understand is that agile project management or agile processes is all about learning. It's all about making sure that you can change things while doing a project. In the traditional method of projects, you would have to plan something initially, then you would start executing it according to the plan, and then once the execution is done, you sort of start testing it. Whereas in agile, it is possible to do all these things together. So that's basically where agile project management is all about. And retrospectives are basically a time for you to do that learning process, or sort of taking a step back and understanding what were the things or challenges that you had, and then that's essentially how it is. So yeah. Okay, so one thing that I would think is important to also understand in the future of any project manager, and if you're interested in this career path, is to becoming is to understand what are the changes in terms of what roles we have as project managers, or as as future team members in a software team. So I kept on saying about Scrum. It has a thing where there is a person who acts as a coach for the team to implement some of these Scrum methodologies, and that person is a Scrum Master. The Scrum Master essentially is the modern day project manager in the software team. So that is important that you understand that you might find a lot of opportunities in the market which might not be having the title project manager, but they might be having the title Scrum Master. And you should not fear that that's not a project manager position, but rather it's a position. It's essentially the same position, but rebranded. And then Scrum Masters have a little more, differences in terms of what they work on. But a lot of project managers are actually adopting the title of Scrum Masters and starting off in software teams like that. The other area that I think a lot of interest, especially in the modern era, is the concept of program management. If you go to the Project Management Institute, which is like the a very global, body which sort of gives you certifications for being a project manager and decides on works in project management practices, and it's got a lot of industrial experts. Program management is thought about as a higher level of project management, but it is not the case like anymore. The lines have sort of blurred these days. People are getting into program management with the intention of of it being a trajectory, because there is no project management in companies these days, or the project management role has become more of a program management. Program management would be basically about handling handling projects of similar kind across the company. So a program manager could be someone who works in just websites, who could be working on mobile apps, those kind of things. And that's all about project management. And you would be doing a lot of the things that you're doing as a project manager, but having a different title, having a more elaborate scope of what you're working on. So that's something which is there. The last thing that I would like to focus on, and I think this is going to be a very important thing, is as a project manager, it's all about leading teams, making sure that you have a team where you can work with them, collaborate with them, making sure that you are somebody who gives them direction, who gives them insight on what things are good or bad. And most importantly, it's all about making sure that you have a foresight of what your team needs, removing those roadblocks, making sure that you communicate properly. Those are the things which are needed. And as a project manager, the role is becoming more and more important in the industry to do that, because there is a lot of there are a lot of things which can be achieved as a software team, but there should be some person to actually lead the team, and this is essentially what this role is coming to be. So as Agile PM, it's all about leading the teams, and you know the future of software is Agile. I would suggest everyone who is listening to be you know be someone who is comfortable with Agile concepts and other things. So that is very, very important. And if you want to succeed in the software industry, having a basic understanding or even an advanced understanding of Agile concepts is going to help you in the long run. So I hope a very quick explanation of what Agile PMs are helped you in that sense, because you could be someone who might be applying for an Agile position in the future. So that's basically it. I'm going to wind up. You can contact me at my email ID, as well as reach out to me on LinkedIn. And looking forward to the Q&A.
Manu, it was a wonderful session, and I was mentioning in the morning as well, right? Like the web development is not just programming skills or just having the skills to write code, etc. The entirety of the software development consists of having skills like project management, and that because that's the way how things can be done on focus and make sure that the product is executed and delivered on time. Because whenever we are trying to build something alone, when there is no time constraint, there is no issues. But when you're working in a company or when you're working in building a product, there is cost involved in it. The cost comes with the time and the number of people. How can we budget this cost, and how can we keep focusing on that one without like letting it go with a lot of sidetracks and stuff like that. It's very easy to get sidetracked into a all different world. So project manager's role in that sense is very important to make sure they're focusing on the right track. And do you recommend, I have a question personally, do you recommend any kind of certifications for the aspiring project managers which look forward? Like, since we talked about in the earlier session with the Shiyas, like he has done a lot of certifications, but how about in project management if you are looking forward to have somebody?
That is a good question, and the question that I get a lot often. One thing that I can tell you is project management certifications do help you. There's no denying the fact that certifications don't do anything. It's like, if you're certified, it's an additional credential that you can show to your future employer, saying that, look at me, I am someone who has got the vouching from a bigger body of industry professionals. And that helps sometimes. I mean, I would say most of the times it will help you. But companies are these days becoming not very particular about having those certifications as a as a core requirement, because they know that not many people are very focused on getting certifications. Because now, if you see, even in terms of software development, in terms of software developers, you don't require anymore a degree to work in a company like Google. Like the session that we had earlier, Google has actually allowed people who have finished high school, they can apply at Google, right? Because if you have the right skills and if you can show that to people, they are more than happy to hire you. So in terms of project management, if you are interested in getting a certification, I would say go for it. But do not think that this is the only way that you can enter project management, because there are a lot more options for you to explore. And I think showing project management experience in a team is more important than having a certification. That is what I usually tell people.
Right. You're absolutely right on that. And in terms of your overall experience, like most of the people who have been here, they mostly focuses on the like what language you work on. Like for example, is it going to be Java or JavaScript or whatnot? Like, but project management is not about what language you work in. It's more about tools and the tools which helps you to make focus. Like when I was working like 10 years ago in State Farm, that's one of the company in the US, we didn't have any kind of tools like Jira back then. Atlassian was not there and Jira was not there. We used to have just the concept of Agile was basically a whiteboard, a large whiteboard with a lot of cards associated with it, and you just keep the cards. Now it's more of everything is online, and you need to have tools. So what tools you need to learn, Manu, for right now?
So one of the reasons, again, I did not specify a lot about the tooling is because Atlassian's Jira is a very popular software that's being used right now. Softwares keep changing, and I think that's also something which Archies also believes in. It's all about frameworks, learning the basics, learning the core concepts, right? So in terms of your question, I would say having a basic understanding of any project management software or any platform in the modern world. So I can give you examples like Jira, I can give you examples of Asana, Trello. These are the softwares which are very popular in the industry. Nowadays, a lot of teams are using things like Notion, which is again getting popular in the industry as a project management planning tool. So those are the things which you can learn about. But I would again caution people against just focusing on one set of tools. Learn the basics. Try to understand what these concepts are. So for example, if I talk about story points, learn what is a story point. And then, regardless of what software you're using, you can always use those concepts. So it's all about the basics. It's all about the frameworks, right? So that is something which I definitely would like to suggest.
I have a question from Ashpati. Is there any drawback for Agile model?
Good question. So one of the things that I've seen is that Agile is not adopted in traditional companies. When I mean by traditional companies, think of military or let's say space-based or defense-related. Those companies or those bodies actually require proper planning. You cannot change things in the middle of executing a project. If you do that, what happens is there's so much of cost and so much of impact that if you change something, like how you do in Agile. In Agile, let's say, for example, you're doing a project based on an Agile methodology. In the middle of the project, you can decide, okay, I don't think, the customer can say, like, I want to change a bunch of things. That can be incorporated in Agile. But in terms of more traditional, more focused projects, I don't think Agile is a good concept. Because there you need to have a very good plan. You need to have a very good costing done, very good execution done in order to succeed. So I think that's primarily where Agile fails. You just cannot use it in every industry because of how the processes are. Yeah.
Right. Like the place where you have like back before even Agile was there, I was working in, if you step back a bit, nowadays the software can be released multiple times in a day. Those are the things which we are using for Agile methodology, like how fast pace you can update the software. But
yeah,
I used to work with when CD-ROMs was there. We cannot really change much thing when you ship. Like for example, you write the code and you compile it, you test it, and making sure that it is not having a bug. It's important that before you ship, because once you ship the code, basically that's the CD-ROM, you cannot just go and update the CD-ROM. You need to release another one, and that may take more time. So during that time, there is nothing like Agile methodology, because you have to plan well ahead and execute the plan, and making sure that it is tested properly, because there is no fault should be there, and it's not like right now, hey, I found a bug, I can fix it like 1 minute or 10 minutes later. So
Absolutely.
I think anywhere, if there is an industry, still follows those kind of stuff where you cannot do much changes. That's where agile will not work at all. So that's one another. That's examples which you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
That's great one. Another question from Aslam. Being a project manager, will that influence your personal life?
Yes and no. So yes, because you should be good at planning things and executing things. So in your personal life, if you're not able to achieve that, you're not a good project manager. No, because then what happens is
your life is not with yourself, right? Like, nothing will be there with your life.
Yeah, in life, unfortunately, Aslam, you don't have the so-called team. You basically work with yourselves and the family. And if you try to bring in project management methodologies into your personal life a lot,
You will not be
I
there
would
in the
caution against that. No amount of certification, no amount of planning is going to save you from the impact of doing a lot of project management in your life. So
Right.
best advice is, yes, it helps you to organize things better because you would have a better focus on things. So that is good, but don't think it's going to solve all your life problems. It is not.
Yeah.
Thank you, Aslam, for the question, though.
One thing which I believe 1 year ago I kind of had a session in terms of project management. I feel like there were that's where like there are a lot of people. This is before even Archies having the first match even.
Okay.
How to even start as a project manager? Like that's one of those things which I feel like people don't explore that much, and we have produced a lot of quite amount of project manager because Archies itself have a specialization, and you are one among the primary trainer for the project management. So if a person who is not having any kind of web development or any kind of experience, how do you tell that, okay, I think I can try a project management as a start to get into it? What advice you would give to these people who want to switch the career?
Sure. So I think one area that we focus, being a project manager in, let's say, a market like US, is that in US you can have it's, I would say, a little more easier to become a project manager in a team as compared to the rest of the world. What I mean by that is you would have more junior project management positions where you can join a team with just after graduation as a project manager. And the skills that you have to show is, have you organized things in the past? Have you done things which a project manager would require? Have you worked with a team? Have you led a team? As a student, as a person in your regular life, have you done projects where you have taken the responsibility of a project manager? If you can show that, a lot of companies, especially in US and North America and like some of the Western world, they have been accepting candidates for junior project manager positions. If you're working in let's say the service industry, like the consulting companies or service companies from India, let's say Infosys, TCS, Cognizant, all these companies, there they require the project manager to have some sort of experience because it's all about leading because you're basically charging the client on an hourly basis, and you need somebody who has some experience under the belt to plan things better, to execute things better. So in that case, the way that you can approach is you can shadow somebody who's a project manager. Again, shadowing somebody who's a project manager is a great advice that I would give to anybody who wants to get in the industry as a project manager. Find some mentor in the industry who works as a PM in one of the companies that you want to work for. See what they're doing, learn from them, ask them questions about what's your day-to-day activities like, how do I start, what do I learn, things like that. Once you have an understanding, it's all about finding the right mentor. Again, something which I think Archies is good at. So if you want to learn about project management, you can ask people who have worked in the industry as project manager. Like, for example, if people want to learn about software development, Tawfiq, you are a mentor for them, and they can approach you and ask you, hey, what is this? that I need to do in order to become a software developer. So those kind of things are important. Find a good mentor, learn with them, and make sure that you focus on doing some of these tasks and proving to the team that you can be a project manager, because it's all about showing that showing that effort towards doing things that would be
Right.
noticed eventually. So that is very important. That's how you can get started.
Right. We have another question from Janara. What particular skills or talent are most essential to become an effective in project management?
Sure. So that is a question which I think is of great importance, and I would say why, because as a project manager, there are a lot of skills which are important, but one very, very important skill is communication. If you cannot communicate well with the team, with the stakeholders, with the people that you're working with, it is going to be a very difficult task for you as a project manager. The other thing that I think people sort of misunderstand with project management is that you are someone as a people person, so you have to deal with a lot of teams, a lot of people, and so your people management skills has to be very good, in order to talk to people, negotiate with them, and make them understand of what has to happen. That is something which is required as a project manager. So I would say communication, and I would say to some extent people management or organization skill is important to be successful as a project manager.
Great.
I think we have one more
Next
question.
Yeah. How do you push people to get things done who are not autonomous? Well, great question.
So Ajay, one thing that I would definitely tell you is that there's no secret sauce in project management. It's always a trial and run method. You as a project manager will have a great idea. You try to push people. Sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. One thing that I can tell you, you can make as a project manager or a program manager, is the fact that you should make somebody who's your developer or somebody who's your, let's say, team member feel that they own the process. So for example, if you want them to make, let's say, a radio button on a page, make sure you give them the responsibility or ownership of doing it, because in a sense they will have a stake in doing it. Once you have them have a stake in doing the process, they would be more interested in doing it, and that way you can push them. Because what happens a lot is that as a project manager, you keep telling people to do things, they don't do it unless and until it's like it's at the end of the cycle or something. Agile actually helps you solve some of those problems, because in a way you're asking the development team, or you're asking the team to say, what task can you do in the sprint? And as a project manager, you're also helping them guide better. Like, you're saying, okay, if you're taking task A, it'll take 3 days, but you don't have that much of time to do those 3 things, 3 days task. So that way you can be a little pushy. Yeah.
Right. Another question.
I hope that answered the question. Yeah.
I think so. That was pretty. I mean, there is no secret sauce, by the way. Just people are different, and some people don't need to have push so much, but some people need to. Surmi, how difficult or easier is to do the project management job? When everyone is at work, working from the work from home nowadays?
Yeah. Yes, COVID has definitely changed the way that we do every job in the industry. Project management for that has really been impacted, because earlier you could be in a meeting with people, have real interactions, see how people are reacting to things. Unfortunately, with Zoom calls and with Zoom, Skype, Google Meet, whatever tool you use, that sort of how do you say, sense of understanding of what your room is feeling is not possible. So you can be in a meeting with so many developers or people from, let's say, QA, and when you're saying something, you might not be able to understand if they are really getting what you're trying to convey to them. I have even heard of an example in which a developer pre-recorded his reactions to things, and then what happened was that whole pre-recording was played during the meeting. So when the project manager was saying things, all that the developer was doing was nodding the head, and the project manager thought that the developer actually understood all the things. But the thing was that that developer was actually sleeping, and the pre-recorded meeting, video was playing. So that actually happens a lot these days too. So I would not encourage people doing it, but this is something which I'm seeing. So it is getting a little difficult, but there are a lot of tools to actually do it. So for example, all your as a project manager, this is something I wish a lot of the industries practice a lot, is to switch on the webcams. Does not matter where you're sitting, how you're sitting. It does not matter what situation you are in. Have that visual communication with the team, because that way you can be a lot more effective. I think it's very important. If you do like audio calls with the team, a lot of the times people are not really heavily invested in what you're saying. Try to make sure that you have a video call with the team. Try to make sure that you check in with the team regularly, rather than just being like waiting for the meetings. You can have these off meeting conversations where you can have one-to-one sessions with the development team, with the QA team, with the design team. Try to have these conversations, and don't have like long meetings. Have shorter meetings. I think that's a very important also, because if you have longer meetings, people are actually very much fatigued by meetings these days. So have shorter meetings, check on the people, see what you can help them with, and then move on. So I think that's basically what I would suggest.
Right. We have one question and then we can wind up, Manu. We have one question is like from Aryan. How to get a job in US? What skills are in demand now? And can you please help? I can take a part of that question and then probably you can continue.
Sure.
So because I kind of mostly involved in people hiring, and I have been there for quite some time handling this kind of, it's not really a project management question, but is more of a hiring question. So the first step to get a placement in US, and I assume that you are talking about how to get a placement in US, and you are not situated in US. So that means you are outside the US country. Then you need to get a visa. So the visa is one of those difficult immigration process in US. So it's not easy. In order to get a visa, you need to have a sponsor. That's another thing. You need to get a sponsor to get a visa. So it's like a chicken and egg problem. You need to get, first of all, a job, then you need to get a visa. And once you get a visa, you can get the job back again. So it's like kind of really weird, what you call a chicken and egg problem in the United States. And if you go there, you mostly gonna be in there are number of visa programs are there, but the primary ones I'll call on as H-1B, which is kind of very difficult because it's a lottery program. Normally, it's run out of the number of seats available every year. So it's very difficult to get, and it has to be specific in particular areas of expertise as well. You cannot just simply get it in any area. So you have to be having a high skilled labor. That's what known as H-1B, a high skilled labor. But if you are talking about a person who is in US and then you're getting in US, I don't think that question is irrelevant here. It's just as long as you're talented and as long as you are having a particular requirements for that particular job, you would be able to get placed. And so there's a wide variety of things. And this is in line with a talk which I had given earlier with you, Quan. Hey, do you need a college degree or a university degree to get a job? Absolutely no, you don't need to. But if you want to get a job in the US, in order to get that one, again, there is a process for visa. In process for visa, demand that you need to have at least 4 years of your bachelor's degree to show that you are specialized in that particular area. Then you can apply for a visa. Otherwise, you are not qualified even to get a visa. That's the issue. It's not about qualified for a job. It's about qualified for a visa. That's two different things there. So And there is other ways to get a job also, like getting into US as a master degree program, and you can work, you can study as a master program. And once after master program, there are things like OPT programs are there. You can work as a trainee, or you can work as a part-time in that particular program, and then convert towards a full-time employee visa program. Nevertheless, if you are immigrating from a different country, you need to have a visa in US. But that's kind of a different, if your question was like how to get a job in your own home country, or in a country like Canada, or country like UK, or even in Turkey, where I'm right now physically located, like those are different because every country has their own number of set of rules, and that differs from how much difficult you are into what kind of immigration process which you get into. Manu, what is there to you to add?
Yeah, so I don't have much to add to what Tawfiq said. The one thing that you should understand is that any country that you want to work for has its set of rules for employment. So I worked in Oman, which was in the Middle East. There's a process that is required. You should have certain skills that the local market should agree to. And that's something which I think people who ask, this is a question which I hear a lot: how do you get a job in the USA? The short answer is it's there's a lot of luck also involved in this. Like, for example, you might get a job, then your visa process might not happen. Some people get the visa, then they lose the job. And it's a risk which you should be willing to take. Never forget that it's going to be an easy process, because if there was a course for how you can get a job in US, I think that will sell like hotcakes. So if Archies Academy is planning to do a course, that should be one, like how to get a job in the US. Because I don't think there is like a good way of doing that, as Tawfiq said, because every market is different. Especially in US, you should understand it's a lot complex. The visa processes are different. Skills, I would say right now, technology skills are very important in the market. And if you can do training in software development, those kind of roles, you have a better option of getting a job in US. But it's not very easy. So those who aspire to come to the US, I would say go through a lot of these options. Try to understand the risk that you're trying to take with this, and then go for it, because it's not easy, as Tawfiq and I was telling you. Yeah.
Right, and I want to add one more thing to that. Like, there's another option also nowadays that's kind of becoming popular as well because of all this COVID situations. Not most company, but some companies do offer that, like getting hired in your home country but working for a US company, or like they are okay to willing to hire you from a US company. In some of those companies, if you are really talented enough and if you are able to show your skills enough, you may be able to get hired for a US job from your own home country, but it may not be the same pay scale as of how a person would have been paid in US, but it may be a premium rate for your country. That's what I would just say. It would be a premium rate for your country, maybe twice the salary or etc., but it not be the same as in that country, because you need to understand, just to want to make sure that like the way the cost of living in that country would be different from where you are.
Very different, yes.
That's why, and there are several factors. Like if you are in the US, you need to pay healthcare a lot of money in insurance, but that may not be the thing in the where you are at it, like in India or in Turkey. So those factors comes into picture when you are trying to place in the countries like that and in very different. So that being said, that Manu, I think we can wind up the session, and it was really, really wonderful you being here, and thank you so much for explaining the project management and different sessions here. Like I said,
anytime,
it's always valuable to share your knowledge to others, and you have been doing that for Archies Academy as well. We have been created a lot of project managers and QAs and all from the guidance which you have been given. And for just before I'm closing notes. Tomorrow also we have in line with several talks. We have data scientists, architects are coming tomorrow, and we have English communication software, like English communication and its importance are there next tomorrow. And one of those things which that's by myself, cracking the coding interview, that would be the session for myself, which I'm planning to give tomorrow. Like as you Quan given a glimpse of it, like how to do a cracking the coding interview, resume building, and etc. That's one of the sessions which I would be giving tomorrow. Again, looking forward to it. And the people on the hackathon, they are still proceeding in, and I'm really happy to see that there are teams which have been started showing their prototype. One by one, they have been started doing it, and they've been very active. Looking forward to see the completion of the projects which they have been working, and looking forward to you guys for the rest of the day and tomorrow. Like, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Manu, and wish you guys all the rest of your evening. Yep.
Thank you, guys. Good luck to everybody.